What you seek is seeking you. This is a quote by Rumi, a Sufi mystic and poet. Many have found meaning in Rumi's words, and traditions such as the Mevlevi have been established to teach his works and preserve his philosophy. But who is or who was Rumi, and what did he stand for? Although he is simply known as Rumi today, his other names include Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi, and Jalaluddin Muhammad Balkhi. Rumi was a Persian poet who lived between 1207 and 1273 CE. He is known for his main practices, Sufi poetry and Hanafi. Rumi's philosophy is that of love, transcendent love that creates oneness. Like many Persian mystics of his time, Rumi's philosophy was centered around the concept of Tawhid, which refers to the oneness of God. Therefore, Rumi's conceptualization of love is not similar to our contemporary understanding of love. It is much deeper and encompasses the idea of spiritual growth and our search for happiness. Rumi believed that everything in the world and beyond is created and maintained through love. According to Rumi, love is the road to everything, and to seek God is to seek happiness. Rumi's poems are spread out across the world and enriches people from all walks of life. His philosophy is broad and cannot be exhausted in a video as short as this. Therefore, this video will be based on selective readings by Rumi to explore his understanding of love and how these teachings are related to today's issues. Oneness in love. In all his poems, Rumi talks about a transcendent, all-consuming kind of love. He addresses this love from various perspectives, such as inanimate objects, animals, and humans. The love he talks about is not the romantic kind that is related to the body and the physical realm. Rumi explores the infinite love that provides unity and everlasting happiness. Through his works, Rumi reveals the secrets to achieving it. This love does not just touch the human soul, it pierces it, heals it, and makes it whole. Rumi teaches us that in love, we can all achieve oneness. But he also teaches us that in our current state, we are separated from love, from the source. In his poem, The Reed Flute Song, Rumi writes about the reed being separated from the reed bed and its longing to return. He uses the analogy of the reed to express our own yearning to return to love, to what we call the source or God. In the poem, Rumi writes, "Listen to the story told by the reed of being separated. Since I was cut from the reed bed, I have made this crying sound. Anyone pulled from a source longs to go back." Rumi believes that in every one of us there is a desire for a love that completes us, desire to be reconnected with the source. This love is the divine, and until we are made one with the source, we will inevitably encounter emptiness and longing within us. Rumi tells us that just like the flute was cut from the reed bed, we were all separated from the source, and the pain of separation is within each and every one of us. It is this pain that causes our day-to-day feelings such as boredom, anxiety, and depression. Our individual lives will remain unfulfilled and unhappy as long as we are apart from the source. It is this separation that causes pain, insecurities, jealousy, and other untoward feelings that we desire to get rid of. The goal is to bridge this separation by returning to the source. Anxiety. Rumi believed that the inherent sadness in our souls due to separation from the source is dominated by the feeling of anxiety and boredom. In this modern world, we have all at one point felt anxious about our lives and bored with our current situation. To understand anxiety, Rumi asks us to think of ourselves symbolically as a drop of water separated from the source, in this case, the ocean. When separated, this drop of water is in constant danger as it can be easily wiped out, dried out, even blown away by the wind. This state of being apart from the whole is reflected by a constant feeling of uneasiness. This symbolism applies to us all when we, at one point, recognize how fragile our life is. Everyone will experience anxiety at different levels, depending on how far away they have strayed from the source. Boredom. To understand our own feelings of boredom, Rumi teaches us using an analogy of a princess who lived in a palace surrounded by everything she needed and could roam around encountering new experiences everywhere. If this princess is imprisoned and her life is confined to a prison cell where everything is routine, then boredom is inevitable. According to Rumi, we were all at one point like the princess, connected to the source, and life was infinite. However, upon separation, the sense of boredom is inevitable as our lives become finite and limited. Our boredom is felt at different levels and from different things. For example, repetition at work, eating the same foods, encounters with the same group of friends can trigger the sense of being limited. We experience boredom when our life choices become finite. For example, a person with 1,000 channels on the TV will still experience boredom the same way that a person with 10 channels will. The number is irrelevant as long as it is finite. What this means is that our inherent boredom cannot be erased by increasing our options. The sense of the finite is what causes the boredom. Because we are no longer connected to the infinite source, boredom is inevitable. Depression. Separation, anxiety, boredom, and isolation will inevitably lead to depression. Like a separated water drop or an isolated princess, we are all separated from the source and anxious about it. Rumi's philosophy teaches us that as long as we are stuck in the finite world, where we are separated from the source, depression will be our reward. The question then is, how do we go back to the source, to the infinite, where love abides, and anxiety and boredom no longer exist? How do we find happiness? Willful surrender. One way to attain happiness is through willful surrender to the divine, which Rumi likens to drunkenness. He calls it spiritual drunkenness. According to Rumi, we find love through absolute surrender to mysticism. Rumi viewed life as a journey, with each person searching for their ideal, driven by a desire to return to our original state of innocence and purity, where we were one with the source. Rumi believed that happiness could be achieved through love. Rumi believed that to move towards our ideal self, true happiness, we need to fully surrender to the love of God. The seeker needs to willingly submit to what they're seeking. Are you searching for your soul? Then come out of your prison. Leave the stream and join the river that flows into the ocean. Absorbed in this world, you've made it your burden. Rise above this world, there is another vision. Surrender is a core tenet in any religion. It implies willful acceptance and yielding to a dominant force and their will. Rumi's religion of love also requires us to surrender to our mystical journey of spiritual ascent. Through surrender, we can find the connection to the source. Give yourself fully to this love, abandon ego, and turn towards the truth, and you will arrive at the perfect ideal. You will achieve connection with the source. Once you have ascended to this high ideal, your reward will be truth, wisdom, love, and the capacity to be of service to all creation without prejudice. This is how we find happiness.